This is an NBC News special report, and I've got some major results to share with you, starting in the state of Michigan, where Abdul El-Sayed has won the Democratic primary for the United States Senate. He defeats Congresswoman Haley Stevens.
I want you to remind them that if we come through this, when we come through this, inshallah.
Ladies and gentlemen, so that Big Ten party that you've been hearing about just went up in flames. The Democrat Party is in crisis because a whole bunch of communist socialist candidates won their elections last night to beat Democrats. And those socialists, they've been threatening to get rid of Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries, basically the leadership within the Democrat Party. But according to Democrat leadership, there's nothing to worry about. And just to show you exactly what I'm talking about, here we have Chuck Schumer being asked about El-Sayed, the communist candidate up there in Michigan. And Chuck Schumer brushed it off as if there's nothing to worry about, even though El-Sayed is actively calling for Chuck Schumer to be replaced immediately. Watch this.
Go ahead.
In Michigan, I know you endorsed Haley Stevens, but if El-Sayed wins this primary, will you endorse the winner of the primary?
Bottom line, we are going to win Michigan, take back the Senate, and have a majority. And Manu.
Thank you. Is the rise of the DSA good for your party?
Look, we are a big tent party. And being a big tent party is a strength, not a weakness.
What we need to understand about what's going on up there in Michigan, Chuck Schumer and the rest of the Democrat establishment endorsed Haley Stevenson, and she lost because El-Sayed won that primary last night. And this is El-Sayed saying how he feels about Chuck Schumer and what he's going to do if he makes it to the Senate in November or January when he's in office. Watch this.
So you have all these plans of things to do in the Senate. Who are your biggest obstacles in the Democratic caucus?
I mean, clearly he's already presented himself, the current leader.
Schumer.
Yeah.
Like who do you think is like the biggest set of problems amongst
Fetterman.
Democrats?
Fetterman is probably the biggest issue. Fetterman is the sitting counter argument to the kind of Midwest politics that I think really can work.
I'm not sure exactly what the Democrat Party led by Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries are trying to accomplish with this Big Ten party idea, because clearly it's not going to work because El-Sayed and the rest of the socialists, they want to get rid of Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries. But according to Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer, there's nothing to worry about because the number one threat that they have to worry about is President Trump. And they're willing to do whatever it takes to win. That includes even losing their jobs.
They're coming for Chuck. I mean, the socialists are going to try to defeat Chuck Schumer in 2 years. They're going to try to tear down his tent and put up another one in the parking lot to the left of Chuck Schumer's tent. They're coming for Hakeem Jeffries. Think about that. They are coming for the two leaders of the Democratic Party in the Senate and in the House, just as they've shot down so many Democrat moderates, Democrat liberals throughout the country. And they're not going to stop. That's the problem with socialism. This is a movement. This is a rising movement inside the Democratic Party. And if they think it's a big tent, they're about to see what happens when a tent catches on fire and is destroyed, because this is what socialists are trying to do. And they're doing it inside the Democratic Party because that's the logical place for them to start. But then, of course, they want to do it to the nation.
Well, my personal belief is that the tent is already on fire and there's no way to stop these socialists from taking over the Democrat Party. But even voters, Democrat voters, are worried about these socialists that, yeah, they're taking over the Democrat Party, but there's a possibility that they may not do so well in the general election.
I'm worried that El-Sayed can't beat Mike Rogers. That's my main concern.
So for you, in a lot of ways, this is more about November than it is about August.
Absolutely. I'm independent. I've got history with the Republican and the Democratic Party, but I tend to vote Democrat.
But what do you say to Democrats who right now are still making up their mind about what matters most in the primary election here in Michigan?
Choose the strongest candidate. And even though the Democrats have a lot of momentum, you still have to choose a person, because Mike Rogers is no joke. He's a strong candidate.
I believe that Abdul will make a lot of headlines and lose in November. And we need a winner coming out of Michigan in November, and that's not Abdul.
Well, clearly, Democrat voters are concerned that El-Sayed, the current nominee for the Democrats, will not do so well in Michigan to go up against Mike Rogers, because Mike Rogers is a strong candidate and he's well positioned, and there's a possibility, a huge possibility, that he'll win that race come November. But there's something else that I want to talk about, because you have this Democrat, Shri Thanedar, who's been defending the socialist communist candidates, and last night he lost his nomination to one of these socialist candidates, which is just mind-boggling to me at this point. I don't know what the Democrats are doing, but whatever they're doing, they need to figure it out, because it's not working for them. Watch this.
In the House races, Donovan McKinney, who's backed by the Democratic Socialists of America, is leading incumbent Shri Thanedar by about 3 percentage points in the Democratic primary for the 13th congressional district. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries backs Thanedar as progressives support McKinney.
So if you have watched this channel for a while, you have heard about this guy, Shri Thanedar. He's here on the right part of the screen, and he lost his primary last night to this socialist guy. And what's insane to me is that this guy, Shri Thanedar, was actually defending the socialists the other day, because here we have a video of Shri Thanedar being asked about the socialists and how they wanted to disrespect our flag.
Hello, Congressman. I have a question for you.
Yeah.
So you have a new colleague coming in from New York, right? Darrell-Lisa Chevalier. She says that you should, quote unquote, wipe your dirty hands on the American flag like it's a napkin. Will you condemn that?
Well, Mr. Trump has said so many awful things, you know, that is something that should concern you.
So you're not going to condemn your future colleague telling people to, like, disparage the American flag? Why do you congressional Democrats hate America so much?
That was Shri Thanedar pretty much couldn't bring himself to condemn the socialists. And the irony is that he lost his election last night, or his primary, to a socialist. Would you just believe that? That Democrats that's been defending these communists for months, now they're paying the price. And I want to show you this interview of Shri Thanedar to show you one of the reasons why he lost. It's because he's a bad candidate. He's terrible. And since he's been in Congress, he have done nothing at all other than try to essentially rage bait people. Watch this.
I've served 4,388 constituents, solve their problems. Yeah. That's what people want.
You have an ad running that says you wrote legislation to abolish ICE, to impeach Donald Trump, but neither of those things ever happened. Critics, including some Democrats, have said you're more about getting headlines than results. Is that fair?
Well, I'm a fighter. Look, you know, I grew up in poverty, dire poverty, 6 sisters, a brother. My father lost his job. I worked as a janitor. So I know the fight, you know, I know the fight working families have. And in Washington, D.C., I was the first member of Congress to bring impeachment action against this president. He got so upset. President Trump got so upset with me. Very next day, he came to Michigan in a public forum. He said, Shri Thanedar is a lunatic.
But it didn't get really any traction or even any support from a lot of your Democratic colleagues. So was that just about getting a headline, or?
Oh, it did. It did. Look, when I fought against Kristi Noem, the secretary, and I asked her in my committee, I dragged them to my committees, and I said, look, you better get pardon from Donald Trump, because when we flip U.S. House and I get the gavel, I'm going to go after you. And that's what I do. You know, I am fearless. You know, I cannot be bullied. Donald Trump tried to bully me. I cannot be bullied because I'm a fighter. All my life, I have to fight against difficulties. I have a tough life, and I fought against it. I never gave up.
Have you noticed something about that interview? Shri Thanedar, the whole time it was I, me. Nothing about the American people that he's supposed to be serving. What have you done for the American people? That is the question. I'm not a fan of socialists or these socialist candidates, but at the same time, I'm very pleased that this guy is no longer serving in Congress. And that brings us to the end of this video. Please let me know what you think in the comment section below. Also, please consider liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing, and I'll see you in the next video.